Hey guys, welcome to my channel, welcome to my stream, and welcome to another chapter. Working on that guy right there. That's our Abrams tank by Tamiya 1/35 scale. Get that intro going, and we'll get started. We have our orange tank. That sure is a whole lot of orange, that's for sure. I've just kind of assembled it a little bit just to see how it's going to be looking. We're going to work a little bit more on our turret today. I basically just put this together so that I have just one piece sitting on my desk waiting for assembly. I already see a little bit of a fit problem here, that when this actually gets glued I'm going to have to hold that closed because we got a little bit of a gap there. It's nice on this side, but we got a gap right in here on this side here. So that's going to have to, when I glue it, I'm going to have to really kind of push down, maybe use some tape and hold that in there. But yeah, it's really not much of an issue at all. Yeah, so looking good, looking good. Anyway, let's continue with the turret. I'll change the camera and we'll get started, okay? All right, so I did glue the upper and lower halves together after painting it all orange, obviously. And obviously some pieces I didn't bother. This I painted black because I didn't really want it to be seen inside there. If you actually happen to look down in there, I didn't want you seeing some weird brownish color. The hatches are probably going to be closed. I'm not sure exactly. I'm not totally sold on closing them up. I'm not sold on leaving them open. So anyway, yeah, so let's continue with this. Last time we finished off with this, got those together. We're now on step 15. We're supposed to put the two halves together, which obviously I've done. And we're going to start putting on our little containers and toolboxes and what have you. So we'll do that. Let's move these over here so I have access to them. Let's put that there. I'm gonna have to grab our D. I like grabbing my D. Okay, D tree. D 14, 18, 17, 15. Good stuff, okay? So, this is my B tree. D. Now these ones I didn't really paint all that great. It's a couple of them I did obviously, but yeah. Okay, so let's find 14 and 18. Here's 14. And we want 18. Okay. These, I'm going to change my glasses. Sorry guys. Okay. Let's make sure our nubs are nice and smooth and clean. I am going to have to go over this. Where are the nubs on this piece? Ah, there we go. Okay, so 14 and 18, this one actually sits like this, and then this goes on top. It doesn't quite look right. Oh, there we go. It goes on this edge. Okay. Alright, so we'll put some extra thin in there. So I'm just going to hold this down while that glues, while that sets up. Now they show it here going on the side. I guess these two little pegs are going to go in these two holes like this. Like so. And it's going to sit like that. But I want that to cure. I want that to dry a little bit first. So I'm just going to put this guy down. right there. Okay, and we will assemble the other one here. D15 and 17. And 17. It's going to go on the other side. So let's just get him ready. Such a weird hearing. Got Motley Crue, Kickstart My Heart, played on piano. So it goes like this. Okay, just hold on to him there. Nicely glued. Okay, let him sit. Doink, just like that. So now this guy can go on right there. There's a little bit of a notch right there. I guess that's where this little guy just kind of sits in his little home there. Actually, no. There's a notch right there, but nothing is in there. Maybe whatever's supposed to go on the face will affect that. So I'm going to get my thicker glue, like this guy here. And just a couple of beads there. And along here. Try and line this up without smearing it around too much. There we go. There we go. So that is the right side. So with that done, we'll get the left side and do a little test fit. Yep. Fits just as good as the right side. It's this kind of thing, you might notice there's a little bit of a gap right along in there, which makes me very happy that I did pre-paint the turret so that my orange paint actually continues down into that gap rather than trying to paint it after. As may be evidenced, the camera might not get it, but for example, getting in between these two panels, right along in here, the paint, right in here, the spray paint doesn't really want to go unless you flood it, right? So it's little things like that that just makes me, it reinforces my thoughts on how it's a good idea to pre-paint. There we go. Let's press them in a little bit. There we go. Okay, so those are those two. Now we have this. We're going to grab our B tree. So all the rest of these parts are coming off the B tree. On the back here, we got B40, which is totally white, not painted at all. that's okay. B40. On B33, which I has kind of painted a little bit. B33. We want B66 and 68. Which are these two guys here. So 66, 68, and that looks like about it. Oh, B57, a round hatch. Okay. All right. So we're gonna deal with these first here. Let's clean these up. Now what I might run into is a little bit of an issue matching the orange on this to this because it's such a contrast right now. It sits like that. If I don't spray paint this first and then put it on, when I go to actually paint this orange, I'm going to get a lot of overspray and stuff unless I mask it. So I'm going to wait for this piece and this piece. It's going to be the same thing. This guy's going to go right here, right, and cover up the hatch. But again, spray painting that to match this, I'm just going to wind up getting a lot of overspray everywhere unless I mask it, and I don't want to bother masking, so I'm going to leave these two off until later. These other ones, these actually have a little bit of some orange on them already, so I think I can get away with putting these ones on. So I'm going to clean up the nubs on the inside of this. These ones too are also small enough I could just brush paint the orange on this one, right? I think technically this guy is supposed to be like maybe silver. He's going to go on right here. There are two little pegs going into these two holes. He sits like that, right? And he kind of rests on top of all of these little fins. Again, another reason why to pre-paint this. Okay, so I'm going to put some glue on our pegs and just in a little bit of spots around here where it's going to be touching on those little, on our little guys. He sits like that. Okay. Now, 66. These two sit on top of this. A couple of little pegs on this side are going to line up with these holes. So just going to make sure these are clean. They are calling out to paint in here X3, paint these little surfaces. I think these are supposed to be windows, but we're not going to paint yet. This guy's going to go on top there. Lining him up is a little bit of a chore. little nubs that he's got to go into those holes are so small that you can have it misaligned and it's hard to tell. There we go. It doesn't quite line up. Am I putting the wrong one on? I could be putting the wrong one on. You know, to me it does that. You do it so that you can't screw it up. And yes, see, this one fits perfect. So it tells me I was trying to put the wrong one on. This one goes on that side. So let's clean this one up now. Tamiya, in their wisdom, makes it so that you can tell if you got the wrong side going because it doesn't quite fit. One thing that's a really interesting detail, Tamiya has the casting numbers molded into the top of it, right there, right at the very top. I can actually read that 19200. Sorry, 18200, right in the very top of that there. A little detail that you're never really going to see unless you're really scrutinizing and examining the model kit, which most people don't do. Of course, if you're entering it in some kind of a competition, then obviously it's going to be under a lot of scrutinization. But, okay, so there's that side. This one also has casting numbers. This one has REV-R7 on it right there. That's really cool. It's also a bit of a shame they don't put that same amount of detail everywhere else. Okay, so those two pieces are on. Okay, just like that. It's a nice contrast to the rest of the orange, eh? Now, in hindsight, I could have left all of this unpainted and just painted all as one, and that's fine if that's what you want to do. Yeah. Okay, my other two pieces are going to go on later, after I get some paint on them. But that's it for this particular page. This page is done, so we're going to flip our page and see what's next. Looks like we're going to be assembling our actual gun barrel next. And a lot more pieces to go together. So, we're going to put our turret aside for a minute or 5 and let those pieces dry as we start assembly on our turret. Or not our turret, our gun, main gun. So, we got to grab our B tree and our two obvious halves of the barrel. Okay, and we need B25. Turn this around so I can read the numbers properly. 25, 13, 22, 26, 25. Okay, we're going to need 27. This guy who's been threatening to come off the sprue a whole bunch. 27. We need 29, 28, 29, and 39. 28 and 29 are right here. And finally we need 39. Alright. And then we need D11. Suddenly I grab my D again. This sudden random little piece of my D. Okay. Alright, so let's see how these two fit together. Would have been really nice, of all the things Tamiya could do, if they had undergated the nubs, meaning they're not visible on the top here, but would have been attached on the side. But 1982, I don't think Tamiya was undergating anything. I'm going to hold these together with clamps. Just to make my life a little bit easier. There we go. Flip it over. Glue on both sides, of course. And of course, when it comes to cleaning this up, I'm going to focus on the top side that you're going to see. I want to try and eliminate that parting line as best as I can. While that is drying, we're going to work on this part. Okay. Here's another thing. We've got the nubs showing right there. It would have been nice if Tamiya had undergated them and had them attached on this edge, because now we have to clean these up. And they're going to be visible. And not looking all that nice. There we go. Okay. This is our barrel tip. Should be a little bit nicer if we had a little bit more depth to that, if this was completely hollow. But it's okay. It's alright. It's fine. It's fine. It's things like that that I understand why some people use the metal barrels. Obviously some tanks you just can't get it. I don't think they make a barrel. I haven't seen it. Well, you know what? I'll be honest. I'm not even going to say I haven't seen it. I obviously haven't seen any metal barrels because I've never watched anybody build a Abrams tank. To be honest, I've never actually watched a person build one on the YouTubes. Uncle Night Shift, he basically only builds German. I don't think he builds any US tanks on his channel. Okay. So these guys, oh, we got one last guy, although his was on this side. Put that on last. Okay, so this guy goes like this. And we're going to grab this guy to go in here and fits very nicely like that. It just slides in. You got this nice little channel in here for it to fit in. Okay, there's one side. There we go. There's the other side. Again, fits in quite nicely. Okay, then we got our little barrel. Goes right there. So because of the way that is, it'll hold while I get some glue in there. I want to have it kind of straight as far as I can. It looks pretty close to straight, just looking at all my different angles. Looks pretty good. Okay. And then we have our final little piece. This guy here. And it's basically this little, that part of the tab just goes right in the top. It just sits on top there like this. So that calls for this glue. Right there. I think that's a little bit much. There. I don't know the purpose of that particular part, but there it is. Just like that. Just sits like that. Okay, here we go. So we're going to leave this to dry for a minute while we go back to our barrel. So the barrel needs cleaning up even before I put this on. This is going to go on like this. It's going to go on like that. But I'm going to wait. I'm going to clean this up first. We got some cleaning to do. I'm going to grab my razor file and burr down that nub. Be sure to rotate it. You don't want to put a flat spot on the top of your barrel. You can probably hear, if you can hear this, that means it's catching an edge. Okay. So if it's still making that sound, you can actually feel that all of a sudden it's really catching an edge on there. So I'm just using this to just kind of knock that edge down, and I'll take a little bit of sandpaper to it after, or a sanding sponge. But I can feel, probably if I use my knife, go along the edge, and all of a sudden I'm hitting it, right? I'm hitting that edge. Right, come along here and there's nothing, because this edge is sticking up higher, so it's hitting this edge, and I want to get that edge down. It's a little better. Actually got quite a bit of an edge on there. That's kind of the nature of two-piece barrels, right? Which is why a lot of guys want to use brass tubes instead of this. And I understand why. Because you don't have to worry about this. It's an actual tube that you don't have to deal with. These separate pieces. And actually, now that I'm looking at the picture, this is the top. So I was just doing a bunch of work on the bottom for no reason. Well, the bottom will look nice, I guess. So again, which is our... Yeah, it's this same edge. It's a nice thing about the file, you can go either way with it. Get that edge down. It's feeling a bit better. I am still going to want to sand it though. I am feeling a little bit of a part in here, so it feels like maybe I didn't get enough glue in there for it to actually come together properly. So let's just make sure. So I stop partway through this process to actually make sure it's glued. Okay. We're going to set this aside now. So I obviously got a lot of work to do on that. We'll deal with that. We'll move on. Other pieces to assemble here. Let's grab this. This is our commander's hatch. Okay. Commander's hatch off of our B tree. 31, 52, and 54. 31 is this. Okay. 52 and 54. Here's 54. The actual lid. And 52. I will say I do like it on certain builds I've done. I don't think the Tamiya one will do it, but a couple of the main kits that I've built, they actually have it with, it's actually on a real hinge, and you can actually open and close the hatch. And that is a cool little feature, because if you're like me and you just have it sitting on a shelf and not in a display case, you can close the hatch and then keep dust out of it. Okay, third piece, clean this up. Okay, so it looks like this is going to sandwich in between. If I take this guy, show it in the way the picture is, and this with that orientation, it's going to go in like this, and then this goes on top, and we make a little sandwich like so. So this is loose, so it's possible this doesn't get glued in. It looks like it's got some potential to not be glued in. So I'm going to put this down, and I'm going to use this glue, and I'm only going to put glue on where the pegs go in, here and here. Okay, squeeze that tight. There's that. Commander's hatch. Now we're going to do the periscope, B48 and 61. .48 and 61. Okay, so we have options for the periscope. We can have it closed or we can have it open. I don't think I want to do closed. Because closed is a little boring, right? Closed is just going to sit like that and your doors are closed. But I'm going to do it open. Just because. So, we're going to do... Oh, they actually wanted me to cut this piece. We're going to actually use this piece to have it open. That's cool. I'm going to use this to file my nubs down flat. That is cool because, well, we're literally using the parting line between those as our cutting guide. So I'll just do this. Turn them around. There we go. So I'll just make sure my edges are smooth. There we go. I got a little bit of smuts on the inside there. That's okay. Let's clean that up. And do the same on this edge. That is a neat little detail that to me allows you to do. Just cut the actual existing doors. Why don't they do that on their aircraft? Okay, which means this now, they get glued in like this. They just get glued open instead of sitting there like that, so they get glued like this. Okay. Put a glue on there. And it sits like this, so the door goes like this. Okay. Just want to make sure it's straight. Straight up and down like it's supposed to. It's not, it doesn't seem to be sitting flush in there. I'm going to have it not quite open all the way and give that little bit of an illusion that it's actually on a hinge. Some glue on this edge. Do the same thing here. There we go. Okay. There's that. There's our doors open. Put that down. So now we need to get B60. Our actual little windows. There we go. Go. So B60 is going to go in here just in front of this little channel like this. Like that. Make sure it's flat against it. doesn't really want to sit flat in there. When I get him flat, he doesn't want to sit straight. When I get him straight, he doesn't want to sit flat. It's a little frustrating. Get in your home. It does sit a little bit low. Okay, anyway, that's him there. So they're saying here we've got to put in our clear plastic piece in there. So I'm going to do that later once this is all cured and dried and all that good stuff. And probably wait till it's all painted too. Because why put it in there and then have to mask it? That's my theory anyway. Okay. So that's that. So then we have our loader's hatch. The only thing to do with the loader's hatch is put in the transparent part. So what I'm going to do, to remind myself of exactly what I need to do, I got to find my highlighter. I'm going to do this and this, so that I can go through this later before final assembly and make sure that I've done these parts, right? So this is done, this is done. We've got our smoke dischargers. There's left and right, I think. They're only showing the left one here. Of course, we're probably just going to deal with it later. So we got to grab our B22 and 37. .22 right there, and 37. I'm going to get 23 and 38 off of here anyway, because it's fairly obvious that we got to deal with those later. And so the side with our little, the side that has the dot and the line, that's going to go in right there and kind of line up just like so. Okay. There we go. So there's that one. Just like that. Put him down. I obviously have more orange painting to do later. Same deal. Line that up like that. One. I'm going to do both sides, just make sure it's glued on there good. Okay. A little bit of a press, and there we go. Okay, let's take a look at our turret. We've got to get B5. B5 goes on the side there. Let's find B5. B5. I have a feeling we're just on the next page. We're just going to see the other side of the turret. B5, nice bright white piece. See, a lot of this stuff I left white because I didn't know at the time when I was painting all this, I didn't know where it was going to wind up being installed. What this piece is, you know, this just looks like a regular rectangular block without much rhyme or reason to it. But this guy goes right here like that, and so yeah, we need to have that painted orange, and I want it orange before I put it on there. So I got a bunch of orange painting to do on some of these guys to make sure it's all going to be, you know, it's going to look normal. Because if I go and put some of this on here, like this guy for example, who's going to wind up going right here, like this, I try and paint him, he's not going to look good at all. I actually want to get this moved. I want it to take up that gap. There's a little bit of a gap, so I'm going to just push it forward here at the bottom so it lines up nice and perfect along that edge. You see that there? That edge where it meets right in there. So I just pushed it forward a little bit so that it lines up there. That's all. Okay. But that's got to be painted too. Same with these guys. These guys go up on here, on this, like this, right there. And well, they got to be painted orange. Right, he's going to sit just kind of like this, but it's got to be painted orange. So yeah, like I said, I got lots of painting to do. I'm going to do a little test on this, see if this is supposed to, yeah, see, you just get to glue this on however, whatever position you want this. You can have it closed like this and glue it like that if you wanted, or like they show here, they show in the diagram, sitting up like this, and you could glue it like that. Right? It really all depends on what you want to display. Of course, there's no interior to this tank, so it's really up to you. You could have it sit like that, or you can have it closed. I'm not 100% on what I want to do. I think I'll have this one closed and this one open, so because you can see the seat. You can see the seat in here. So I think I'll have this hatch open and this one closed. I think that's what I'm going to do. This guy is going to go closed. But as you can probably tell, you can see a little bit of white in there, which means I need to do some painting on this guy first. I want to paint that in there, paint that edge. Right. This has to be painted, at least around in here. So yeah, I got painting to do, guys. As far as our gun, I'm not assembling it yet because I have to deal with all that stuff. We got one little notch here, so it lines up like this. That's going to go like that, and then it's going to go in here and line up with our little peg like so. Again, this needs to be painted orange before going in there. It is cool that we're going to be able to raise and lower our barrel, even if ever so slightly. I do want to have it just up a little bit for when I glue it in, like that, so I know I'm getting it where it needs to go. because you could, when you're gluing it, if you decide, hey, I'm just going to raise it as far as it goes, you may not get it glued down all the way, and then you bring it down and you got a weird gap, and I don't want that. Or if you have it too low, maybe you don't get a chance to glue it all the way, right? And again, you get a gap. So I want to have it up just a little bit, raised a little tiny bit, so that I ensure this gets seated as far down as it's supposed to. Okay. I am noticing this big gap here, right along here and here, that I'm thinking, at least on this spot, this inside here, when our barrel is on, you're not going to see it at all. But this gap here, I'm going to just do a little test fit and see what is visible when this is on the tank. Well, we actually have this on here. You're looking at that. Let's see, at this angle, yeah, I can see in there. It's kind of a gap I don't really like. You know, if this tank was a darker color, you'd probably never see it. But yeah, that bugs me a little bit, the fact that there's such a big gap there. So this is where I'm going to go a little bit out of my norm. I've been talking about not putting white stuff on this because of the contrast of trying to paint it, but I have to paint this anyway under here, and I don't like this great big gap. So let's put some putty in there and just fill that gap. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I just want that filled a little bit. I don't want it to be a hole. I don't care if it winds up looking like a seam. I just don't want it to be a hole. So I'll just wipe that away smooth, like that, like that. There we go. We'll let that dry. Guys, I think this is where I'm basically going to call it for today. They want me to bend. Next is going to be like the railing that goes along here, around there. But of course I gotta paint this. Gotta get this all uniform in one color like it's supposed to be. Gotta put our little railing on there, and then we've got our cable that's supposed to go along there. But the cable's going to be its whole different thing, so that's going to be later on. Maybe next time. Is there anything else I can do before I have to paint? Let me just flip the page and see any other little bits I need to assemble. B6 needs to go onto the top there. Let's see if B6 has been painted. B6 has got a little bit of paint on it, but not much. B6 looks like a periscope of some sort. That guy there. A couple of other pieces. Next time we're going to start working on this, on the rear. They call it the bustle rack. We're going to cut some mesh according to this template and get that installed. This is going to all be next time. I got to put on this piece, which means that's got to be painted orange. Same with this guy. That railing. A couple of gun bits. B2, they've got to paint that orange. Got to make sure that all these pieces are really nice and dark orange before I install them all. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do next time, guys. We're going to do all this next time. So which means I need to basically do some touch up on my orange paint and get these guys all kind of uniformly darker orange before I actually continue with any more of this build. Get these assembled. It's not a big deal. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah. So this is where we're going to leave it, guys. We're going to leave this for the day. And I want to thank you guys for watching me. I still got a lot more work to do on my barrel to get that nice and smooth and round and look like one piece. Yeah, so please guys, hit that like button down below. And if you haven't already, I invite you to subscribe to my channel and you'll get notifications every time I put up a new video, all that fun stuff. And yeah, thank you for the support, guys. Thank you for all the nice comments. And we'll see you all in the next one.